Okay, hello dear students. So now we'll cover the topic about project-based learning, yeah, as I mentioned before. So let's start, yeah. Okay, so this is an approach, yeah, to teaching in which students explore real-world problems and challenges, simultaneously developing 21st century skills while working in small collaborative groups, yeah. So the reason is here, like, to work on like particular project and maybe even to prepare a final product, yeah. It can be in different forms. So okay, let's start with what is project-based learning, yeah? So PBL, yeah, shortly PBL, is an instructional approach built upon learning activities and the real tasks that have brought challenges for students to solve, yeah? And these activities generally reflect the types of learning and work people do in the everyday world outside the classroom. So it is generally done by groups of students working together towards a common goal. So here, we cannot say that PBL is only implemented in foreign language learning, but it can be implemented in various subjects, yeah, various courses, and it can be even integrated, yeah. So yeah, we shouldn't think that it's particularly like related to EFL, okay? So PBL, yeah, teach students not just content, but also important skills in ways students have to be able to function like adults in our society, yeah. It can teach what presentation skills, communication skills, organization, time management, research, inquiry skills, self-assessment and reflection skills, group participation and leadership skills, and critical thinking. Like core skills, like 21st century's core skill, you see, and also like cooperative skills, because they should work in groups, yeah, with other students too. So performance is assessed on an individual basis and takes into account the quality of the product produced, yeah, the final product, the depth of content understanding demonstrated, and the contributions made to the ongoing process of project realization. Like it cannot be formative assessment, yeah. It will be summative assessment, like which will consider the overall process, okay? So this approach, yeah, like this learning type allows students to reflect upon their own ideas and opinions and to make decisions that affect project outcomes and the learning process in general. The final product results in high quality, authentic products and presentations, okay? So why we should use this methods here. So it puts students in a position to use the knowledge that they get, they implement the received knowledge, they act as a responsible person for their own learning, yeah. Then they can understand, apply, and retain information, which considers Bloom taxonomy verbs, yeah. Then they can work with professional experts who enrich and support the teacher's knowledge and how it connects to the real world. And it can be more effective than traditional instruction and increase academic achievement. And then it can improve critical thinking, communication, and collaboration skills, yeah. And also they can have increased motivation and engagement in their studies, because they are working with real world things rather than only traditional materials tasks, yeah. So now let's start discussing gold standard PBL. Yeah, this is the main, like, fundamental basis for this type of learning. So we have 7 essential project design elements. Yeah, so student learning goals for projects include standards-based content as well as skills such as critical thinking, problem solving, communication, self-management, project management, and collaboration. So in gold standard PBL, projects are focused on students acquiring key knowledge, understanding, and success skills. Yeah, so in order to be like, these are the main criterion, yeah, for PBL, okay? So for example, it can start with challenging problem or question, and then it might go to sustained inquiry. Authenticity is important, student voice and choice, or independence, yeah, then reflection, critical revision, and then the final public product is they are main criterion again for PBL, okay? And also students can be assessed based on those criterion. next, let's discuss in depth, those criterion. The first one is about a challenging problem or question. Students should have challenging problem or question in order to be able to do the project. The project is framed by a meaningful problem to be solved or a question to answer at the appropriate level of challenge. So they should be able to cope with that. They cannot do something unrealistic, for example. Then the next one is sustained inquiry. Students engage in a rigorous like standard process of posing questions, finding resources, and applying information. They should be interested in it. Authenticity is important, where the project involves a real-world context, tasks and tools, quality standards, or impact, or the project speaks to personal concerns, interests, and issues in the students' lives. It should be like connected to a real world, and also it should be interesting for them to to complete. Then student voice and choice. Students make some decisions about their project, including how they work and what they create, and express their own ideas in their own voice. So in some schools, for example, like in some projects, it might be noticed that that teachers did instead of students, you see. So here it is obvious because students level is different from teachers, and their perspective might be really different than the teachers like perspectives, for example. And then reflection. Students and teachers reflect on the learning, the effectiveness of the inquiry and project activities, the quality of student work, and obstacles that arise and strategies for overcoming them. They should always like reflect on their project. They should discuss the advantages, disadvantages, the weaknesses, the strengths, maybe the challenges that they had, and they should also think about how to overcome them. Next one, critique and revision. Students give, receive, and apply feedback to improve their process and products. It's not like oh, I finished it, that's it. No, they should receive feedback from teachers, from experts in that field, and then they should improve their work based on those feedback. Then the last gold standard of PBL is about final public product. Students make their project work public by sharing it with and explaining or presenting it to people beyond the classroom. So they can organize fairs, where students can present their projects, and they can share with their ideas, and also they can receive useful feedback for future development, in fact. And now let's talk about 7 project-based teaching practices. Now it's about teaching practices. So when transitioning to PBL, one of the biggest challenges for many teachers is the need to give up some degree of control over the classroom and trust in their students. And again, the students, for example, in EFL, in foreign language teaching, in English language teaching, students language proficiency level should be considered. It should be considered. And for example, it might not be appropriate to conduct to ask students who are elementary level students to do some projects, or it might be limited, you see. And but even though they are more often the guide on the side than the sage on the stage, teachers just give some directions. And this certainly doesn't mean that teachers do not teach in a PBL classroom. Many traditional practices remain, but are reframed in the context of a project. And in gold standard PBL projects, again, we'll cover more in depth about these teaching practices. So first one is designing and planning. So now from teachers' perspective, from instructors' perspectives, teachers create or adapt a project for their context and students, and plan its implementation from launch to culmination while allowing for some degree of student voice and choice, even though it's controlled practice, to some extent. Then, aligned to standards, teachers use standards to plan the project and to make sure it addresses key knowledge and understanding from subject areas to be included. It cannot be totally free, because it should be based on it should be based on standards of PBL. It should align with those standards. Then build the culture. Teachers explicitly and implicitly promote student independence and growth, open-ended inquiry, team spirit, and attention to quality. The next one, managing activities. Teachers work with students to organize tasks and schedules, set checkpoints and deadlines, find and use resources, create products and make them public. Yeah, teachers of course organize a lot of things here. Then scaffolding student learning. It is about facilitating the student learning. Teachers employ a variety of lessons, tools and instructional strategies to support all students in reaching project goals. Of course, they cannot do it by themselves only, yeah? They need some directions. Then assessing student learning. Teachers use formative and summative assessments of knowledge, understanding, and success skills, and include self and peer assessment of team and individual work. Again, so like feedback is important also, and not only teacher can assess students, so like students can assess each other too, yeah, to some extent. Then engaging and coaching. Teachers engage in learning and creating alongside students and identify when they need skill building, redirection, encouragement, and celebration. Yeah, teachers can reinforce them positively. Yeah, and also can act as their coach. So here, students as teachers, yeah, they act as teachers. So the age of the teacher as a primary fount of knowledge in the classroom is gone. Yeah, so here we have internet and students can access new and relevant information not yet is discovered by the teacher. Yeah, it's possible because they are like there are more students. We have only one teacher, yeah, in most cases, and there are a lot of students, so they can brainstorm, they can search for different information from different websites, yeah. So internet using educators are discovering a new mode of learning that we call side-by-side learning. It is becoming a more and more common experience to find students assuming both informal and formal roles as teachers of their peers and younger students, and in many cases of teachers, and they can also provide feedback. That's also another role of the student in this like in the project-based learning. Then teachers as coaches rather than traditional teachers, yeah, who control everything. So here, so they can they of course discover the primary tasks are to guide and coach and mentor their students. They teach their students how to question, yeah, and how to develop hypotheses and strategies for locating information. They become co-learners as their students take on a variety of learning projects which could be unfamiliar territory. In the end, most teachers who experience this find it a rewarding experience, you see, because, for example, one group of students can be researching about, for example, what can we think about as a project? It can be they can be creating a school magazine, for example, yeah, and teacher might have a limited knowledge about like creating school magazine. About design, of course, a teacher can also learn by the end of this project, can learn from their students, yeah. And also when students can share their projects and activities with the community through their web page presentations or on-site fairs, yeah, or tangible results, they're not the only ones to benefit from the interaction with a larger audience. Teachers also make new peer connections and find support and encouragement from a wide variety of their colleagues and content experts. Yeah, very useful, beneficial experience, yeah, for teachers too, not only for students. Then parent and community involvement, yeah. So by community we mean, for example, when organizing the fair, and other people, experts, or I don't know, and other people who are interested in these projects can come up to the students, can learn, can benefit from these projects, yeah. And also online it can be then parents, business leaders, scientists, and many other members of the community can play more effective and innovative roles as motivators, role models, source of information, critics, evaluators, guides, and mentors. Yeah, why not? The experts in that field, for example, they can give some valuable feedback to students' projects. Yeah. Then learning strategies and thinking skills. So here we have the very first strategy is learning to learn. Yeah. Effective online projects encourage students to work on a problem in depth rather than covering many topics briefly. So students will learn to learn, yeah. And we can say that students also engage in learning what is needed to solve a problem or complete a project rather when the teacher decides in predetermined curriculum. Both of these strategies are cited in educational reform literature as being important tools to improve learning. Okay, next one, lifelong learning. Yeah, so web projects here build learning experiences connected to the kind of learning one does throughout life rather than only one school subjects. Yeah, so by using real tools for intellectual work that are used in the workplace rather than oversimplified textbook techniques, students become familiar with the kinds of knowledge that exist. Yeah, then the next one, active learning again. So the students, what they gather information and data, explore, create, experiment, physically manipulate things, and organize information. They do a lot of things. Yeah, they have access to people and information from the real world. They develop a closer relationship to the real world context of problems and projects. They will learn how to solve the issue, the problem, the inquiry. Yeah. Then cooperative learning, they learn from each other. They learn also from from these feedbacks, yeah, from valuable feedbacks, and also from the experts in the field. And that's it about project-based learning.